Hi guys, good morning. So in the last session, we saw about your transparent firewall concept and modular policy framework. Now today we are going with the concept of iOS zone-based firewall. Okay. So in the iOS zone-based firewall concept, we'll see that how you can configure a router as a firewall. Okay. So as we all know, the default behavior of a router is what? It is going to forward the traffic from one interface to another interface if it has a route. Okay. But the default behavior of a zone-based firewall is what? That it will not forward any traffic from anywhere to anywhere. Okay. So in a router, we'll see how we can create the inside zone, the DMZ zone, the outside zone. Okay. And once we create the zones, since these zones are by default not available, we'll have to create them. And once we create them, we will have to assign those zones to the interfaces. Okay. That means these interfaces, your router interfaces, like your Z0 by 0, 0 by 1, and 0 by 2, they will become the member of these zones. Okay. So consider this Z0 by 0, we will make it a member of inside zone. Z0 by 1, we will make it a member of DMZ zone, and Z0 by 2 will make it a member of outside zone. As soon as the zones are created and you assign the interfaces to each zone, your communication will stop. Okay, your communication will stop. You will not be able to communicate from outside to inside, inside to outside, or inside to DMZ, DMZ to outside. There will be no communication at all. Okay. Now there is no communication. So what we have to do now, we have to inspect the traffic. Okay. We have to do what? We'll have to inspect the traffic. Okay. So how do we inspect the traffic? Remember yesterday in the MPF, we saw 3 steps. That first of all, we will use a class map. Okay, the first thing we are going to use is what? It's a class map. Okay, in a class map, what we do? We classify the protocols. Okay, so what we'll do? We classify the protocols. That what are the protocols you want to inspect? So we will classify the protocols here. Then we use a policy map. We use a policy map, and in this policy map, what we are going to do? We are going to define the action. Okay, here we will define the action. That what is the action you want to take, whether you want to inspect a specific type of traffic or you don't want to inspect it. Okay, so those things will be defined in the policy map. Then what we have to do? We have to apply this policy map. Okay, we have to apply this policy map on the router. That means in case of ASA, what we were doing? We were applying the policy map globally. Okay, if you remember our default class map in case of ASA, your default class map was inspection default. This was the class map. And if we talk about your policy map, the default policy map, the default policy map. So your default policy map was global policy. And this policy was being applied globally. And that's why it was affecting all the traffic that was going from inside to outside, outside to inside. Okay. So same thing we'll do here. Now these things, these are by default available in the ASA, but in the router, there is no default class map, no default policy map. Okay, there is no such thing. And that is the reason that we have to go and create all these things here. Okay. Now, once we create them here to apply the policy map, we have to create something called as zone pair. Okay. We have to create the zone pair, and here we will call the policy map. That means basically we will create the zone pair to apply the policy. Okay. So let's see. Directly we'll jump into the lab and we'll see how you can do all this stuff. And we'll see how you can create a router as a zone-based firewall. So let me open the lab. Create a new lab. I use zone-based firewall. So I'll simply take 4 routers. Okay, so this is going to be your inside. And this is going to be your outside. And this is your DMZ. And this one is going to be your zone-based firewall. Okay, and this is going to act as your firewall. This is a router only, but acting as a firewall. Z0 by 0, Z0 by 1, and Z0 by 2. Let me start all the devices. In the inside, we'll use the network 10.1.1.0/24. This is your inside. This is your DMZ. Here we will be using the network 2.2. This is going to be outside. And here we will be using 11.1.1. This is the network that we'll be using. Okay. Now the IP addresses. 10.1.1.125. 10.2.2.125. And 3.3.125. Okay. On the zone-based firewall, all the IPs will be .10. .2. This will be loud. And this is your iOS zone-based firewall. Let me open Notepad so we can do the configuration. First of all, we'll do all the basic configuration. This is iOS Zone-Based Firewall. Inside, enable configuration terminal, host name, inside, interface 0 by 0, IP address 10.1.1.125.255.255.255.0. No shutdown. One route we will give towards 10.1.1. Okay. Let's also enable telnet username Cisco IOS 15 password 6. Line VTY 0 to 4 login local transport input telnet. That's it. This is the inside configuration. Similar configuration we'll do it for your DMZ. And this is your DMZ. Interface Z0 by 0, IP address will be 2.2, and route will be 2.2.10. Then outside, will be 11.1.1.25, and route will be 11.1.1.10. Now about your zone-based firewall. So basic configuration, basic IP address assignment, we'll do it here only in the notepad, and remaining configuration about the zones and everything, those we will do directly in the router. This is zone-based firewall. On the interface Z0 by 0, it will be channel 110. Interface Z0 by 1 will be 2.2.10, and interface Z0 by 2 will be your 11.1.1.10. And here we don't require any route, so we'll just remove it. And also we don't require any telnet as such configuration here. So we'll remove this one. Oh, so this is the basic configuration done for entire lab. So let's take an access and we'll copy paste. Zone-based firewall, inside, DMZ, outside. Okay. Now, first of all, inside configuration, everywhere we have to say no because these are routers. Good. Now let's copy paste the configuration. Inside, paste. DMZ. outside. Okay. Then we have zone-based firewall. Now this zone-based firewall, right now it is just a router only, okay? It's just a router as of now. So if it's a router only, that means by default right now we should have communication. So if I try to ping 11.11.125, so I should be able to communicate, and you can see I have the communication from inside to outside. And even if I try to take a telnet access, so I'm able to take a telnet access. See, from inside to outside. Why? Because right now this is just a router only. Okay. Now what we have to do, we have to go and do the configuration for your zone-based firewall. That means we have to make this router behave as a firewall. Okay, so first thing we will do is we are going to create the zones here. Okay, so how do you create zones in a router? You will say zone security and just name the zone. Like right now, I want to create a inside zone. So I'll say zone security inside. Same way, I would say zone security outside. And I'll say zone security DMZ. These are the three zones I have created. Okay. Now, still if I check, will I have communication? So yes, I will have communication because I have created the zones, but I have not told my firewall, okay, I haven't mentioned this thing that which interface belongs to which zone. Okay, so we have to mention it. And right now, since there is no interface member of any zone, that's why we are having the communication because it is using its default behavior. Okay, so now let's do one thing. Let's mention. So I'll say my interface Z0 by 0. Which zone will be? In which zone it will be? It will be in the inside zone. Okay. So how I'll assign the membership of the zone? I'll say zone member security and which zone? This is a part of my inside zone. Okay. Interface Z0 by 1. This is a part of DMZ zone. Okay. This is Z0 by 1 and this is the DMZ zone we have here. Interface Z0 by 2 and which zone? Outside. So this is my outside zone. And as soon as I mentioned the zone, my interfaces are member of zones. Let me see if I have communication. I will not have communication here. Why? Because now they belong to zones. And from one zone to another zone, in a zone-based firewall, there is no communication by default. Okay. Now we have to inspect protocols here. If I want to allow the communication, I'll have to go and inspect some protocols. Okay. So in a ASA, all these, class map, policy map, these are present by default. Okay. And here I have to create myself. Okay. So how do you create? Exit from here. Okay. And now let's create, first of all, class map. So I'll say class map. Okay. Then see here. I will say type. Okay. That the type of class map is what? I want to configure firewall class map. As a firewall, I want to configure the class map. So I want to inspect the traffic. So type will be inspect. Okay. Then it is saying that, okay, which protocol you want to match. So I will say that this class map should be applied whenever any of the protocol matches. Okay. So if you want to configure the class map for a specific protocol, you can use these protocols. Okay. Otherwise, I will say match any. See, there are two things. One is match all and one is match any. What is match all? That all matching statements under this class map. Okay. here there are two operations. One is the AND operation, second is the OR operation. Okay, so AND means what? Whatever the protocols you specify, so all the protocols should match. Okay, and in the match any, if any of the protocol matches, you can take the action. Okay, so right now we will go with the match any. Okay, and then you have to give a name to your class map. And what is the name I want to give? So let's say I'll just name it CMAP. Simple name. Okay, class map CMAP. Now, in this class map, I need to do what? I need to match the protocols. I need to classify the protocols. So I'll say match protocol. And which protocol? Let's say one is you want to allow ICMP. Okay, so right now I am allowing only ICMP. Later on, we'll see we can allow TCP also. So right now, one protocol I have classified that, okay, I want to match the protocol TCMP. Then what? Just exit from here. Now we have classified a protocol. Now we will define the action. So for action, we need to create policy map. So I'll say policy map, same thing. Type is inspect. Okay, and I have to name it. So I'll give a name PMAP. Okay, to my policy map, I am assigning the name as PMAP. Hit enter. This is my policy map. Now here I have to call my class map. So I'll say class, type is inspect, and my class map name is what? CMAP. This is the class map that I want to call. And what is the action I want to take? I want to inspect the traffic. Done. Now I have created the class map and classified the protocols. I have created the policy map and I have defined the action also. And if I try the communication, still you will see I'll not be able to, because three steps are there: classifying the protocols, defining the action, and then applying the policy map. So we have classified the protocol in the class map, we have defined the action in the policy map, but we haven't applied the policy map. So now we have to go and apply the policy map. Okay, so let me exit from here. And now I will apply it. How do we apply? So we create here zone pairs. So I'll say zone pair security, and from where to where you want to allow. So let's say I want to allow it from inside to outside. So I'll say in to out. Okay. Who is the source? What is my source zone? So my source zone will be inside. And what is my destination zone? My destination zone will be outside. Hit enter. I have mentioned that I'm creating a rule from inside to outside. And what is the service policy you want to apply here? So I'll say service policy, type is inspect, and which policy map? My PMAP I want to apply here. So I have called the policy map, and this is your policy map applied, and you have the communication. Okay, but this is only for ICMP. If I try 11.1.1.25, so you see that my TCP is not inspected right now. Here, my TCP is not inspected. Okay, so to inspect TCP, what we have to do? See here. Exit from here. Do show run pipe section class map. Okay. So if you see here, this is my class map I have created, and I have mentioned only one protocol. Okay. So in the same class map, if I go and mention TCP also, then my TCP will also be inspected. Why? Because if you see the same C map, I have called in my policy map also. In my policy map P map, I have called the class type inspect, and the C map I have called, and the action I have defined that inspect the traffic. Okay, and you see, according to the default class, what was the drop. Okay. The default action was drop, and that is why by default there was no communication. Okay. So let's do one thing. We'll go to this class map and we will say that match protocol TCP also. So copy, paste, and I'll say match protocol TCP. Now my TCP inspection is also there. See here. Now this time my TCP inspection is also there. And because I have the TCP inspection, now I have the access. Okay. But right now, what is happening? I am having communication from inside to outside, because if you see my zone pair, the zone pair rule that I have created, okay, so it is my source is inside and my destination is outside. Okay, and that is the reason that when you try from outside to inside, if I say ping 10.11.125, I'm not able to ping. Okay, and if I try telnet 10.11.125, so I'll not be able to telnet also. Why? Because the rule that I have created, my inspection, it is only for inside to outside traffic. That's it. Not for outside to inside traffic. So if you want to allow from outside to inside, then what you need to do? Just create one more zone pair for outside to inside, because the protocols are already classified in the class map. The policy map is already defined with the action. All you need to do, you need to just create a rule for source outside, destination inside, and you call the same policy map. Okay, so let's do it. We'll say zone pair security, and this time I will say that outside to inside, and my source zone is what? Let me exit so that tab will work here. So I will say zone pair security out to in. My source zone is what? Inside, and my destination zone is what? Oh, sorry, not inside. My source zone is outside, and my destination zone is inside. Okay, and here I will just call the same policy map. Same policy map I will call here, and my rule is created. Now if I check section zone pair, you will see that I will have two rules, one for inside to outside and second for outside to inside. And both the same protocols are inspected now. Right. Able to ping, able to telnet. Same thing if you want from inside to DMZ, DMZ to inside, DMZ to outside, outside to DMZ. So all you need to do is just create the zone pair and mention that, okay, source is inside, destination DMZ, source is DMZ, destination inside, or DMZ to outside or outside to DMZ. Okay. So you can create a class map to classify the protocols. You can create a policy map to define the action, that what is the action you want to take on that particular traffic or on those particular protocols. Once you define that, then you just need to create the zone pairs. And as per the zone pairs, you can mention that, okay, who is the source, who is the destination. And then you can call in your policy map there and your inspection will start. Is it clear? Okay. So guys, this is your iOS zone-based firewall concept. So this was the last topic in our ASA. And with this, we are done with the ASA. So any doubts? Okay, let me mention the comments. So see here, step by step, I will explain. In the zone-based firewall, now what you will do? First thing you will do is create zones. Okay. How will you create? You will say zone security inside, zone security outside, zone security DMC. Okay. Once this is done, then you will assign the interfaces to the zone. Assign interfaces to zone. So you'll say interface Z050. Then you will say zone member security inside interface Z0/1 zone member security outside interface Z0/2 member security DMZ. Now, once you define the zones, your communication will stop here. Now we need to classify the protocols, define the policy map, and then apply the policy map. These three steps. So you'll say create class map to classify the protocols. So you'll say class map type inspect match any and name is CMAP. Then you will say match protocol and CCNP and match protocol TCP. Then you will create the policy map. To define the action. So you will say policy map type inspect. This type of scenario where we will use in real time. Yeah, in the small organization. And right now, you know, the firewalls are very cheap. So everybody goes with the firewall. But in just in case the organization doesn't want a firewall and you want to use a router as a firewall, so you can do that in a smaller organization. Okay. So policy map type inspect and name we will get data. Then here we will call the class map. So class type inspect, and we want to call the CMAP here. And here the action we want to define is inspect. Then we will create the zone pair. Create zone pair. To select the traffic and call the policy map for action. Okay. So you'll see zone pair security name is into out. You will mention the source as inside, destination as outside. Okay. Then you will call your policy map here. So you would say service policy by inspect, and you will call it. This is how your configuration will be. Okay. So guys, any doubt? Yes. Okay. So guys, with this, we complete the AC. Okay. And let me stop recording now.